every single detail to me matters.
It's about the content. Like being a creator is about producing quality content.
Exceptional quality. I will not give you anything that's not exceptional quality.
Monetize it, build a business around it, be an entrepreneur.
This is what I'm really proud about. We just hit $200 million made for creator entrepreneurs.
That's insane. Didn't you only hit 100 million earlier this year?
Yeah, like maybe 6 months ago.
That's crazy.
You eat shit for so long as an entrepreneur, when it finally starts to work, it's just like, holy shit, wow, this is like one of the best decisions I could have ever made for my life. I will out-compete and out-execute every single one of you guys. If you beat me at this, then good. I promise you, you won't. I care so much more deeply about this customer.
I believe it. I believe it.
If you're worried about giving out your secrets, that means you're not fucking good enough at what you're doing.
Welcome back to the Creator Spotlight Podcast. Today we're speaking with John who you may know as Jay Hoovy. He makes really good content, especially on YouTube these days, about being an entrepreneur, the work that goes into being a creator, and building his company, Stan, which Stan is essentially a link in bio tool. But what makes it stand out is that, you put all your links to other socials and podcast appearances and whatever on the page it links to, but that page is also a storefront where people can purchase your digital products directly. And I'm sure there's probably some other things I'm missing that you'd want to point out. Yeah?
Yeah, it's basically your all-in-one monetization tool as a creator or an online entrepreneur, right? So your courses, your community, your calendar bookings, any sort of digital product you want to offer, any sort of SKU you want to sell for your business or service you want to offer for your business, you host that all within Stan. So rather than paying for, $400 for a clunky website and then a course hosting platform and then a community membership platform, it's all just within your Stan store for just $29 a month.
Yeah, a great deal. Okay, we'll get more into Stan in a second, but I do want to talk about your content because this is how I found you probably about 3 years ago when I swore off TikTok. I knew I would get addicted to it, but I had to do TikTok for the last company I worked for. And I found your videos. I was like, these are really good. This guy's killing it in this kind of like building in public niche. And I think this is when you I don't even know if you had any employees yet. You were just starting to kick off.
Yeah.
How much of your early success do you think was due to your personal creator brand and presence?
I think the early days, the entirety of my success was due to building an audience online. Like, how else do you differentiate in an incredibly competitive market? Like, whoever's listening here, when you think about it, like the reason why you're listening to this podcast and investing in building your own audience is because you need to own your own distribution and also build your own differentiation, right? When I started Stan, I built it to solve my own needs as a creator because it was so clunky to have a link tree into, a Calendly and a Kajabi and blah, 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 and it was, conversion was really bad, all that kind of stuff. But if you think about building the business of Stan, you mentioned Stan's a link in bio tool. We don't really see it as that, but the market sees it as a link in bio tool, and there were 15 other Linktree link in bio tools out there. So why is Stan now so much more successful than all of those other companies that had a decade's worth of first mover advantage? I would argue two reasons. They come from the same root, which is one, we have differentiated distribution because we understand creators as creators ourselves, we're made for creators by creators. But more importantly, if you think about how we've built and who we are as people and human beings, aka our values, we are the creators. So we're truly the most creator first company. So we build the best tool for creators. We speak the best to creators. And so all of that roots out of the fact that I started as a creator myself. So it's much more authentic than just some random tech bro being like, oh, I want to make money in the creator economy, which is what we've seen for so long.
Yeah. Well, so when you started, still to this day, your production value has always been really good. Your editing has been really good. I was watching some of your first TikToks where you're you clearly had this great pre-production mind and post-production ability. Did you have any background in that? Because you were a finance guy for a little while before, right?
Yeah. First of all, thank you for the kind compliment.
Yeah, of course.
I think we're all just wired differently in terms of our style of content, and that just so happened to luckily be mine. Because actually before being a creator, I was, as you alluded to, a finance hardo. And actually one of the reasons why I loved being a creator, because I just kind of randomly popped into it because I was just doom scrolling on TikTok back in the day during COVID. It's like, I kind of want to try this out.
I'm bored. Why don't I do this?
Exactly. Right. It was just, I asked myself, how can I add value to this world? And for me, that was through the lens of career coaching, as in how do you as an underrepresented minority and get your first dream job? Because that was just my personal story of breaking into a job at Goldman Sachs with literally zero connections. And so I just posted about that. And so in that context, it was the first time in my life I learned that what being creative meant. I know that sounds really silly to say that I was 25, 26 at the time to be that.
You hadn't taken art classes as a kid or whatever.
Exactly. Because I didn't get to do that as a kid, right? Because of my cultural background and the pressures I had there. And so when you see my creativity manifest, even in my like hardo entrepreneurship content, it's through the lens of kind of like the editing and the production and like the funny jokes we make and stuff like that.
Yeah. I'm curious how you define the term creator. This is something I always ask people, and everyone always has a kind of a different answer. And I find that really fascinating.
I believe we're all human beings are creators.
Mm-hmm.
It is the broad term I would like.
Well, no, I would say I agree with that. But like in the internet sense, in the sense that, we are in, creator spotlight, in the sense that like Stan serves creators, I think is what I'm actually most interested in.
So how we specifically define it, who we look to serve very intentionally, are those who look to be entrepreneurs within their creator journey. So those who are staking a flag somewhere on a hill and saying, this is what I stand for. This is how I serve others. Yeah. These are my values. And this is me, despite how terrifying it is to put myself online or to really shoot my shot. I'm going to go out there and build this for myself. So that's how we define creators. That's who I personally look up to. That's who we love getting to work with and help. So that's how we define it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I like that you used the word entrepreneur right away, because earlier this week I did another interview with this guy, Adam Ryan. He runs Workweek. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's kind of like a network. There's another thing where I'm probably butchering the way he would define it, but it's you could think of it as a network of newsletters, B2B business creators, newsletters. And I asked him if he thinks that creators are necessarily entrepreneurs, and he said no, which I found fascinating, because I kind of veer more towards you, where like my definition is like a creator is somebody who is making content for the internet for an audience beyond people they know in real life, right? That's the most basic version. But then I think more accurately, they're also trying to like monetize it, build a business around it, be an entrepreneur. But his take was like, it's not necessarily an entrepreneur. It's about the content. Like being a creator is about producing quality content. And like, that's the tip of the spear. That's the point. Everything else is secondary. But I think your definition also is really arguable.
Yeah, how I think about it is it's actually a spectrum. We call it the artist to entrepreneur spectrum. And so you have some people, let's say a Van Gogh on one extreme end, who's purely there for the intention of the art, to the detriment of his audience, right? Because he wasn't successful until post-mortem.
Famously.
And then you have someone who's like more middle of the road spectrum, like a Taylor Swift, who's very talented in both. She's a killer in the best way. Like the way she clearly understands her audience, deeply empathetic, but also just like shows up every day for that Eras tour and just an insane marketer. Like she's somewhere, farther along the entrepreneurship spectrum. So at the end of the day, it comes down to like, what are your values and your intentions?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I want to go back a little bit to your early days making content again. How much, like, up to now too, how much time were you spending on content then, when like the whole, I mean, you were building the company as well, right? So that was part of it, but like it was so important for you to make this content and like get the distribution of your ideas out there. Whereas now it's still quite important. I watched too many of your YouTube videos on 2x speed last night, but it's still obviously so important and like a big part of what you do. But I imagine you're spending less time now. So how much time were you actually spending on this content at the beginning? And then how has that shifted to now with your priorities?
Yeah, I think this is the natural progression of a career entrepreneur. Depending on how much you want to scale your business, I think I was probably, my mind energy, 60% of it at least was being consumed by content, and the obsession you have around content, especially when you're starting early on, of like every minute detail and how you show up in the world and all that kind of stuff. And that was probably the case for the first 1 or 2 years, especially because I had my main Jay Hoovy account on TikTok, and then the first way we got distribution for Stan was I started an entirely separate account called Coach Hoovy and posted every day on that account for like 2 months and built like another following base of 20K there just to drive leads for Stan as a business. I would just coach people on how to monetize, and then folks would follow us and sign up for Stan. And so content initially was the most impactful thing that I could personally do for the business. And then Stan's at a scale now, right? We just hit $200 million made for creator entrepreneurs.
That's insane. Didn't you only hit 100 million earlier this year?
Yeah, like maybe 6 months ago.
That's crazy.
Like and the other cool stat that I saw yesterday that one of our lead creators posted on our social media account, and this will allude to your answer too. Yeah. This is what I'm really proud about. We just hit 11,000 people who've made at least $1,000 on Stan.
Wow.
And this is our mission manifest of empowering anyone to make money for themselves. Is just like, holy crap. Can I swear on this?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Holy shit. We are going to build the middle class up brick by fucking brick if we have to.
Yeah.
Like this is what we're proud of. But all that to be said, what I alluded to there around kind of, one of our lead creators is if you think about how can I best serve this organization and this mission now, it's like I I actually see content as my unscalable time. I actually create content so like I carve out 30% of my time where my co-founder and I used to argue about it all the time. It's like he's like, you shouldn't be making content anymore. It's not the most scalable thing.
I need you here in the weeds with me.
Right? Like, because you think about how do you have leverage on an organization over time? It's not by driving customers; it's by hiring awesome people who are better than you to drive more customers. And we've now hired a bunch of awesome creators who create content on the organization's behalf who are much better than me at it. But I still do it because one, I like fundamentally enjoy it. It's why I got into the business in the first place, is because I like resonate deeply with the journey of being a creator myself. But then two, it just like also connects me back to the customer constantly. Because I think one of the struggles that a lot of you'll see this in a big Fortune 500 corporation like a Comcast or United Airlines. Like those CEOs are so not hopefully not intentionally, but those CEOs are so far disconnected from their end goal customer. That's why there's so much pain in that customer experience. Rather than like for me, the joy of this is like getting to be close to the customer and like getting to be in the weeds in the journey with folks. So that's why I still create content. But it's gone from like 60 to 70% of my obsession to like 20. I wish it was more, but like. Because I wish I could be posting more, but maybe 10 to 20% of my time at most, which is a shame because I wish I could be cranking content.
You're really good at it. So just talking more about the service side of the business, I listened to your podcast appearance with Abigail Pugh, I think, who's kind of a Stan success story, I understand. But I think I remember her saying something about like when she reached a certain amount of revenue made through Stan or something, you guys like flew out and like surprised her with cake or something like that. So to me, this is like your version. I don't know if you do this for everybody or whatever. So it doesn't really sound scalable, but I'm curious about your version of this kind of like YouTube's gold and silver plaques, like how you are engaging with and like celebrating your creators in that way, which is really smart.
So it all roots from a fundamental value of ours, which is spark joy, which is like, at this point in time, like I'm not really doing this for the money, right? Like,
you're profitable also, right? By the way, just as an aside.
Yeah, because like what you eat shit for so long as an entrepreneur, when it finally starts to work, you build this self-agency and belief of like, oh, like if this doesn't work out tomorrow, like I'm gonna be fine. Like personally, for me, that means like I can go make a small amount of money and live in Bali and surf the rest of my life and be totally happy. But specifically in this context, then it's like, okay, so why am I still doing Stan? Like, what matters to me? And for me, and a lot of the team, Stan is obviously a vehicle for us to get to financial independence with the rest of our customers, but it's also just a vehicle for human connection. And so the spark joy for us is really important as a core value because everyone on the team is a fucking killer in the best way. Like we're here to make sure we hit this mission, help as many people as possible reach the goals that we've reached ourselves. It's because it's such an incredible feeling. But on top of it, it's like, are we just going to stress the whole way through? Or are we going to have a good time and build meaningful relationships? Because my hope for the team and all of our customers is like, we get to look back in the golden years and be like, wow, this is like one of the best decisions I could have ever made for my life. Like, reached financial independence, met some incredible people along the way, grew immensely as a human being. And so then I give all that to context to then cascade down to the example you gave for Abigail Pugh. So for those of you who don't know her, Abigail Pugh is an amazing success story. For 3.5 to 4 years ago, her husband had a stroke. And this is like peak TikTok days, and lost his job. And she was at home with her 1-year-old. And she did what any mom would do. She was super mom. And she said, fuck it, I got to take care of my family. She started posting and ripping content on TikTok. Obviously, first few videos didn't do that well, but over time, she started posting about she had been doing UGC as a side gig. And she basically, essentially, over the course of 6 months, she built this audience and started to monetize, where she was actually the first creator on Stan, because we were very new at the time too, to reach $1 million made on Stan.
Wow.
And she retired her husband, who like now gets to be at home and a present dad. And she herself, I sent her an audio message 2 days ago, actually. She posted a video and she was like, real success is getting to be present with your family on a Monday at 10 a.m. And it was like a video of her and her family like on a walk. And the way that she's teaching not only how do you serve your community, how do you serve others, and also serve yourself and prioritize the right values in life, like she is to us what a Stan entrepreneur means. Like she is what we stand for. So flying out to her to surprise her was a literal no-brainer. And now at scale, of course, we're actually launching next month like our version of like the 100K 1 million plaques as well. But we do a lot more fun stuff in that.
Yeah. No, I imagine. Okay, I think you talked a bit about this on that podcast too, where like, and I agree with this, where like being a creator, succeeding as a creator just comes down to like consistency, right? I think it's like you post, analyze, learn, tweak, repeat, and that's it. There's no really other advice than that. But I am curious whether it's like not necessarily just production, but like how they're building the business, etc. Other commonalities you've seen between really successful creators through Stan.
You know what I've realized when I work with a lot of new creators and entrepreneurs is they're looking for like a playbook that never ends. They're like, oh my God, give me. They want the quantity. They want like 7 different things that they need to go do.
Yeah.
And I've realized that success at the highest levels is a function of saying no and focusing.
Yes.
And the answer is exactly what you just said. There's only one thing that matters at the end of the day, which is every day you show up and you post. And you push yourself to post, and then you go back and you observe the next week and you say, which of my 7 posts yesterday or whatever it was yesterday performed? Why? How do I double down and iterate on that pattern? Mm-hmm. That's literally it. That if anyone here is looking for the success formula, I will personally bet you $100, like DM me, like maybe even $10,000 because I'm so like strong and convicted on this bet. If you commit to posting for the next year and a half and doing this, you won't be able to take the bet on $10,000 from me because you will have accrued so much more value than that. If you truly do this every single day for the next year and a half, that is my promise to you if you bet on yourself.
Yeah, well, it's the same, it's the same as like running every day. You'll be really in really good shape if you run every day for a year and a half, but it's really hard to show up every day. I want to hear about your own Stan store. So I went to your Stan store, and there is a free content calendar you can download. I downloaded that just to give it a try. There's also a $999 one-on-one coaching session that you're not currently offering, and a $199 Ask Me Anything where somebody can send in a question. You'll record like a video answer. Tell me about your Stan store, your own Stan usage experience.
So I actually, anytime anyone actually orders something from me, I have to refund them. I was like, sorry, I actually don't want to take your money. This is like just a demo so people can see what you stand for.
I was wondering.
I had to. I kept jacking up the price of the coaching call so no one would book me. People kept booking me. I'm like, please stop. So I made it like 0 so you can, and again, it sounds like I got to make the other one 0 too so no one else can book me even for Ask Me Anything. Because essentially in that, when people go to my account, I just want them to see what you can do with this Stan store.
Which is why I went to it. Yeah. So that's just what it is, which is like whether you guys want to give out a freebie, including building out your beehive, like the way that Stan and beehive work really well together is Stan, we've tested it thoroughly. Stan, there's no better converting kind of link in bio storefront than Stan. And so if you use a freebie if you give out a freebie on Stan, you can connect it to your beehive. That's going to be some way you use it. If you want to do one-on-one, like any sort of client service bookings, if you want to sell a course and then a community, like it's all going to be there on your Stan store. And that's what we want to show people. Yeah. Nice. Okay. What is your vision of the creator economy? Getting back into kind of this, like, what is a creator thing? I'm really curious about like how you conceptualize this thing that is the creator economy.
I live by this quote that Naval said a long time ago on a tweet, which is eventually everyone will be in the creator economy. It goes back to like, I believe all humans have creative potential in our creators if they'd like to be. Where we think about the creator economy and how we can serve the most and what we're most excited about in like, let's say the next 5 to 10 year horizon is the creator economy creators are just the first kinds of entrepreneurs who are realizing that the internet is the new distribution channel.
Yeah.
Right. So what we are here to serve and what we will do better than anyone else is serve entrepreneurs who are looking to build their own business online. There is no one who understands funnels and optimizations and conversions and which product and SKU you should sell. No one has more data than us. That's what we would do exceptionally well. So if you're a small business owner, you're a service provider, an online business builder, whatever you're trying to do, whatever empire you're trying to build based off of your own media distribution, like we are super excited about the entrepreneur's economy within that.
Yeah.
Because there will be artists who make cool videos and have no intention of monetizing, what have you. Like we're squarely focused on how the internet media ecosystem is going to eat the rest of the world. Like that's where all of our attention is.
Yeah. So are you familiar with like Richard Scarry? He's this like children's book author, his Busy Town. You've probably seen like a meme of this or whatever. So it's like a classic children's book, but there's these illustrated things and it's like a little story about it. But think of like a town square with all these illustrations of like, there's the shopkeeper labeled, there's the blacksmith, there's the baker, whatever, all these very classic jobs, right? And I've seen people joking on Twitter, like, if your job isn't listed in Busy Town, it's not a real job. And then I've seen this specifically too about like creators, like, there's no creator listed on there. But I've been thinking about this. It's something I've been like kind of stewing an essay idea on, where like okay, well, the creator actually is in there maybe, but as like, teacher, or as like
Mm.
baker, but like baker teacher. I don't know. So I'm interested, kind of what you were just saying about like, the creator economy is, in your vision, is just people building businesses online. Like, what are the translations? Like, what are the translations to like actually the real, very simple, classic
Yeah.
job that is there on the busy town map?
So I have two answers for you that can help you rationalize this. One is every restaurateur, blacksmith, nail salon owner, whatever it is on that busy town, they're all now using social to drive leads for their business. And so Stan is the best point of sale for all of those people. So like it's just like we're reframing what a creator is, and no, it's just a marketing social media is just a marketing distribution channel. Same way like before they would use newspaper or organic word of mouth. Now you're using social media. So like that's how I would reframe just in general. Like everyone in busy town, their new marketing medium is just social rather than like going out and yelling in the town square. The second piece of that is I think the nature of work is changing, right? Like this AI stuff terrifies me existentially, but like in part of that is like going to be robots who are just going to do the manual labor that like we as humans are fundamentally too lazy to do. Like those are really fucking hard jobs. And so the nature, you ask yourself then like what will be valued, what will not be commoditized, right? Like we will commoditize the hard manual labor because obviously no one wants to do that. And that's where like, tech will take us. And so what will be the new things to be valued in busy town square from human beings? Like what are we disproportionately good at? Still for now, it's creativity and human connection, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, good answer. So when the one of the last annual ARR, annual recurring revenue numbers you shared was 30 million. And I went back through like the videos and the articles where you talked about this growth because it's this amazing growth, right? You started 2023 at 1.7 million. You ended it at 14.7. You've more than doubled it this year in 2024. But I want to go back to kind of when you go that year of going from 1.7 to 14.7, you said in one of your videos that it was about a shift to systems thinking and kind of learning to scale things. I don't need you to like rehash what you said in that video, but I'm interested in if you've applied that kind of systems thinking to your work as a creator, or if you think there are productive ways that creators can kind of shift into a systems thinking mindset.
So the first thing to define is what does systems thinking mean?
Yeah.
Which I still don't really know. It's just some big business buzzword. Consultants will ask you to pay a lot of money for them to just tell you abstract concepts. The way that I currently define systems thinking, the best mental metaphor I have for you is something does something for you in your sleep. So like even if you were to take, for the creators out there right now thinking about their businesses, if you were to take 3 to 6 months off your business right now, would it collapse entirely? And if it would, you don't have a full system prop. And to be clear, I don't think in many ways any creator business you can take off that much time.
No, when it's led by a person.
But the mental model is really, really helpful around like, okay, what are things that I can have do stuff for me so that I can go do net new things? So I'll give Stan as an example of this, and then hopefully you guys can extract like metaphors for your own businesses. So like when I first started, I was the one driving sales, right? There was no one else. It was just me begging people to use Stan. Lots of cold DMs. And now we have a system of incredible creators and sellers and salespeople who we have a weekly process of weekly morning meetings to like talk about pipeline. And then we have managers who like, basically it's a system of awesome people who day and night are compensated and incentivized to go perform this task. And if we're hiring well, then we're hiring people that are even better at doing this. So the system is not only working at a 10x scale to me. Like even if I was an amazing seller, if you hire 10 decent people, they're going to outsell you by volume. So it's not only are they creating more volume for you, but they're also ideally better than you. And so then that allows and frees me up to then be like, okay, what can I do with my time now that I'm not, doing one-on-one sales calls all the time? Because time is the zero-sum game we're playing. Oh, that means I can be more creative and focus more on the content, or in this case for Stan, it's the brand. Right? How can I really build a brand that we're all really proud of? And that's a creative exercise. And so that, if you think about like the comp to a creator themselves, is like, oh, like, what am I spending a disproportionate amount of time that takes energy from me? So a lot of people will be like brand negotiations, or like checking my email every day, or like responding to DMs. And then you're like, okay, how can I automate this? Or how can I build a system around it? So it's either like I could hire an EA, there's all these, or I could figure out an AI solution that does something for me. And so it's all about figuring out, okay, what are the things that I don't like doing, or that would what are the things that I could better, or what are the things that I could be doing that could better serve my time?
Mhm.
Okay, so how can I remove things off of my plate, either by hiring someone or building some sort of software solution or automated solution, having an AI agent, like whatever that is. That's kind of the mental model I would give for systems thinking. It's just like, how do you
Yeah,
replace yourself with something that's reliable?
that's useful. How big is the team right now?
We're like 45 soon, but our plan is to try to go to 100 next year. So we're really going to go growth on, because we just have a lot of conviction that like we have the best product out there that could help a ton more people if they knew about us. Because
Mhm.
actually very few people know about what Stan is and how helpful it can be and how helpful we can be. So that's what we're looking to do next year.
Yeah, so I did watch your video. My startup is flatlining. Here's my plan to fix it. And you were talking about this a little bit, how you're really trying to scale your marketing function. I looked at your Notion job board. I think there's 16 roles on there right now. There's like some of the highlights to me were, Stan creator search, head of creator marketing, head of growth marketing, and the kind of the headline one, professional memer. And in this video too, you're talking about how like you've had this very organic growth function so far. You haven't really been spending on paid advertising, I think not at all, etc. Tell me about these bets you're taking and like the teams you're building, like what these 55 more people you're going to hire within the next year are, like what these teams are and what you want them to accomplish.
Yeah. So the central premise is that 90% of the market who could benefit from us and save more money, make way more money using a way simpler
Mhm.
tool, don't know that we exist. And so the question is, it's just what I've realized marketing is just like telling people that you exist. I know that sounds really dumb, but I was like, oh, wow, we
Yeah.
need to do that. Um, and so the bets in terms of like, let's say doubling the size, about half of those people are on the go to market function,
Mhm.
which means like, how are we getting the word out more about Stan? So that's like, you mentioned head of creator marketing. That person is specifically going to own how many impressions and views we're getting through the lens of the creators that we work with on a third-party partner basis. Or like the professional memer, which by the way, if anyone loves making memes and wants to make them about entrepreneurs and helping entrepreneurs feel seen and also like laugh about the struggles that is this job, please apply. That's like in our own internal content arm. So it's like their job is to like grow the brand of Stan through the lens of the content we make and like own having a meme account for Stan. Um, so all of those hires are about like getting the word out about Stan. The other half of the hires are about fulfilling the promise of Stan.
Mhm.
So what we mean by that is like if you're marketing something, you have ideally you would have a product and a customer experience that matches what you want to provide the world and you're saying you provide.
Mhm.
And so for us, if we're going to scale marketing, that means we're going to scale our customer base. So the other half of this is like we want to make sure that we have full coverage on taking really great care of our customers. So that means a lot of those hires are going to be like service support based people. So like
Yeah.
when you join Stan, by the way, check our Trustpilot rating versus anyone else in the industry. Incredibly proud of it. Right. So like all the 5-star ratings we have, and they all say two things. One, Stan is the simplest and easiest way to start an online business. I wish I'd switched to it sooner. But two, what makes Stan special is how incredible the service
Mhm.
and support is. They're always there for me. And so we will make sure that we have people here to take care of you guys as you sign up. So that's really what it's focused on. And then there's a couple more engineers to just continue building out a great product for everyone. So
Yeah. So something interesting in there you said was that it's about, getting the word out and telling people that they can save money, which I think but the other problem, which goes back to what we were talking about earlier, is like not just that, but like the people who, you have to educate them on how they can make money. And so I want to talk about digital products as well, which like I personally don't really buy many digital products. I have a lot of like subscriptions, newsletters, podcasts, whatever.
yep.
I've bought one-off digital product projects once or twice. I think the last one I bought was when I was trying to get this gig doing Creator Spotlight, and I bought a list of Beehive newsletters for like $8 that I found on Reddit. But I guess what I'm asking is for you to kind of like explain the digital product market to me and like where the biggest opportunities for growth are, because it's just not something I think about so much every day. I'm more in like the business of thinking about subscription businesses.
Sure. And I would argue, I would categorize your podcast subscription, newsletter subscriptions as digital products.
Okay,
The
yeah.
product is just the weekly newsletter content that they're serving you. But I think you're talking about more so kind of like consumable digital products.
Yeah,
Like
which is the
one-off.
stuff that from my impression is like a big bulk of what
It's
people sell
about
through Stan.
65-70% is like one-off course purchases, and then the rest are these subscriptions, specifically community and
Mm.
kind of newsletter subscriptions is what a lot of people make recurring revenue off of. Um, the opportunity now that we're seeing a lot of people shift into that I highly recommend is lower ticket mini courses. So I think there will always be space for like, high ticket $1,000, like really involved courses that have like maybe coaching paired with them, what have you. Where we're seeing a lot of the market shift to, and a lot of really cool products coming out of it is like, we're talking $9 to $47, like hour-long mini courses, 30-minute little packages. And I'll give two hilarious examples that are so cool that happened just this week. So one of my favorite pastimes at Stan is every day we have a Stanalytics, we call it Stanalytics. We have a chart that comes out. And part of that chart is the top 20 GMV people who made money today. And I love going into that personally and just seeing who that is, because there's always new creators.
That's
There's
awesome.
two creators who are on the list that we've never spoken to, didn't even help ramp up. They built their own Stanstores and all that kind of stuff. One of them specifically has been crushing it, like 5 figures plus in like 2 weeks, selling a like $7 makeup guide. And there's a ton of lifestyle creators. Basically, like they're just realizing, oh, these routines I'm doing in my videos, I can actually just repackage as like a $7 little like 10-minute video course and sell that. And so they've been doing so well, and it's so cool to see. And so it's like hair, lifestyle, makeup, anything around beauty, especially, is doing really, really well in these mini course packages. And then the other thing that we saw this week that was so cool was there's specifically someone who does strip pole dance fitness.
Yeah.
And she has 4 different packages. They're all like in the $20 to $40 range. She once again crushed it, 5-figure week as well. The last week just joined too. And it's just like her different kinds of exercises around like strip pole, like exercise, which seems insanely hard. So point being is, when you guys think about like, how do you package a digital product? It is just like whatever is your consumable thing that you can teach, even if it's already a video you've technically made, how do you just turn that into a little consumable product that someone can buy off the shelf?
That makes sense. It's almost like when I think of, being a kid in the early 2000s and like we were buying, boxed software. It's like a reversal of like subscription businesses. Yeah. Like you would go and buy like Rosetta Stone or whatever other thing,
That's exactly the way I think about it.
Yeah. Something I think about a lot is that attention is a limited resource, and the creator economy, right, is not fully, but like in large part kind of two overlapping things, the attention economy, right? Does that worry you, this idea that attention is a limited resource, that like only, there's only so many people spending so many hours looking at their phone or whatever each day? Like, to me, that's like a limit on the reach of the creator economy, which I think about as somebody who, has a stake in a company that works in the creator economy. It's something that I often think about and don't have an answer to. So not really a specific answer, but I'm curious your thoughts on attention as a limited resource.
I think about the zero-sum game of attention all the time as well. But I don't worry about it in the short term for any of us, because we're still in such early days, both in terms of business scale, but also in terms of market adoption. Like, it's not going away anytime soon. It's just increasing, right? Because the content on, and I'll give you a flip side example of why. The content on social, and it's just getting better, like, because it's just the mass market innovating, and TikTok versus Quibi is a great example of that back in the day. The better way to flip side talk about it is, who should worry about this a ton and who does is the CEO of Netflix. He's talked about it for like years now. He's always saying, he's like, Netflix's greatest competitor is not Hulu, what have you. We actually don't spend that much time thinking about it. All of our time is like, we're competing with YouTube and TikTok. And so, and we've seen how hard that battle is to win versus 10 million incentivized creators versus like just a centralized studio. Point being to all of that is, we're still such in the early days of this that I'm personally not worried about that. But talk to me in 4 or 5 years, I'm sure the macro trends might shift or what have you. So
that makes sense. So I first knew of you as a TikTok creator, and you still kind of do both TikTok and YouTube, but it's mostly YouTube. You don't do as much TikTok anymore. I'm curious how you feel about platforms, not just TikTok and YouTube, but I know you had a newsletter. I don't think you've written for it for a little while now. How are you personally looking at platforms right now, and what are kind of the leaders and the laggards for you?
Yeah, I actually haven't made a TikTok in over 2 years now, which is crazy.
Wow.
This is how I think about the different platforms. Every platform has trade-offs. Mm-hmm. I will tell you a couple of different stats that should help people think about, and then it'll fit with how they want to create in this world. We see all the data on conversion. The top platforms by conversion, if I were to rank them: YouTube by a mile, then LinkedIn, tons of alpha on LinkedIn, guys. If you're not creating there and using a stan.store convert, like you're missing out on so much easy revenue if you're kind of in the services knowledge economy. And then from there, it's Instagram, and then like Twitter's pretty crappy, and then TikTok is kind of like around that place too. But the flip side of this, TikTok's incredible for top of funnel brand awareness. And so there are flip sides to that, and different platforms are strong at different things. Instagram's really solid, kind of as a catch-all. And then if you're writing, it's LinkedIn and what have you. And I imagine Twitter kind of converts at least well for newsletters to sign up, not so much for paid conversion. In that, personally for me, it's just aligning like what kind of content do you want to create. So I personally love making video content, and I wish I had more time to do written content because I would do the newsletter more often. But for me, like YouTube, the trade-off in YouTube having such high conversion is that it's a grind to succeed. Someone once told me, like, treat YouTube as a labor of love, especially if you've been like tricked by TikTok to think it's super easy to build a following base because you can grow overnight. Like YouTube is not that. It's a grind. It's a commitment for like 2+ years of like nothing. So if you think about the opportunity today, I'd say where the alpha is the most is LinkedIn. We have tons of creators. So both Justin Welsh and Dan Coe and Mac Ray, like all the big names are using stan.store now on LinkedIn to convert, and they're converting way better than their old legacy platforms. But we're seeing through them their own success, but also their client success. Like LinkedIn is the place to be if you're writing written content, which I imagine most of the folks listening to this are doing. So
yeah. Just yesterday, I wasn't necessarily going to ask this, but I saw some people tweeting about this yesterday, that building in public was a PsyOp, and that like it was just a way to get people to give up their alpha or whatever. I think that you would strongly disagree with that. Argue against building in public as a PsyOp.
What do you mean by PsyOp?
I think by PsyOp, I think the tweeter, because I'm quoting the tweet. I think they meant that like, well, I mean, PsyOp always kind of is a vague thing that there's no they, right? But I think they mean that like it's a way to get somebody to give up their secrets and like to show like, oh, here's the thing that we're doing, and then it's easy to copy for people who like can just move quick and copy a thing.
Yeah, I'm sure it depends on the person, the industry, and niche. Like if you're building some sort of defense tech thing, then probably don't build in public. Or like some AI, like IP driven business. At the end of the day, why I've never worried about building in public. And by the way, one of my favorite stats, I've never shared this publicly before, but one of my favorite stats is the reason why I never worry about any of our competitors is because you can see which readers open your newsletter the most. And I post publicly my shareholder letters and everything. Yeah. And I've got so many great readers who like read it like, 1, 2, 3, 4 times. And then you'll say like at domain name, competitor who's been really shady to us and shamelessly copies us at competitor name, and it's like 35, 45 reads, like 65 opens. Point being is I hope to be a case study for everyone around building in public. Yeah. Yes, you should totally be mindful of what you're sharing and all that kind of stuff. But if you're thoughtful about it, like I've never worried about sharing all of it. I'm so,
for you, it's kind of a moat, right?
Yeah, to some degree, but the reason why I don't care about any of it, and I share all of our vulnerabilities too all the time, is because I will out-compete and out-execute every single one of you guys. Like I don't. If you beat me at this, then good. That's a good thing for the creator economy mission. I promise you won't. I care so much more deeply about this customer. It is me. It is my friends. It's the people that we serve. But like I will. If you're worried about giving out your secrets, that means you're not fucking good enough at what you're doing. Like I will give them out to the day that I die because I don't care, because it helps build up the entire economy, and I will outcompete the shit out of anyone who tries to copy us. Like, and we will continue to do so. So that's personally how I feel.
No, I believe it. No, I mean it's funny listening to you here in a live setting after I literally probably watched like 3 hours of your content yesterday, but like on 2x speed. I felt insane afterwards. I was like, that was too much knowledge. But it's funny talking to you now because like on these videos, you're very like telegenic. You've got this like way of talking down. You've got like the hand motions, etc. Not to mention obviously the post production, the graphics and stuff. But it's funny because you just are that guy. Like talking to you now, specifically that answer. Yeah. Okay. I think we'll end it there. Is there anything you would want to leave our audience with?
There will be many times where you will question yourself. You will feel so stressed, maybe on the verge of insanity, maybe on the verge of quitting, questioning yourself in all these ways. I think about this chart all the time. It just says this is pointless, and it's like right before you end up being successful. And I just want you guys to remember that. Like, bet on yourself. Continue, persist, never give up. Never, ever, 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 ever give up. And I promise you, you will find success on the other end. Because there's so many times in my journey where I've questioned so much. I've wanted to quit. I've had to go on sabbatical or whatever it is because I was so burnt out. Please don't be like that. Please find a healthier relationship with work than me. Just don't ever quit. And I'm so excited to see whatever success you guys bring into this world.
Perfect. Well, thank you for coming on.
Cool. Awesome.